Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the EKN Radio Network, and welcome to 2020, a brand new year. We rolled the calendar over from December of 2019, a brand new season here on the EKN Radio Network, and of course, a brand new season of competition all over North America. And of course, we'll focus a lot on the United States. A lot of great racing lined up, whether it's national events, some of the fantastic regional series, all the club racing through our Operation Grassroots program, and all the fantastic one-off races that have really kind of come to the forefront here over the last couple of years. My name's Rob Howden, joined as always here by David Cole, the first podcast of 2020. David Cole, I'll bring you in right now. We won't even tell anybody about what podcast it is, but hey, welcome to the new year.
Welcome to 2020. Another decade.
Yeah. You're going to pull the Barbara Walters? Welcome to 2020.
No, I'm not. I'm sure half our audience doesn't even know who that is, so.
That's probably true. You're right. This first podcast of 2020, our actual fourth episode of our new podcast that we started just before the Super Nationals last year, the EKN OutLap. Essentially, it is a podcast where we will be previewing the events that will be coming to the weekend coming up. The first season, or the first race of the year, of course, the SuperKarts USA Winter Series opener at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires. This is our preview podcast. We'll dive in. David Cole and I will talk about some of the stories that are going on. We'll talk about entries. We'll talk about the drivers that are coming to the events. As we get further into some of these series, we'll be able to look at, of course, where people stand in the points, whether it's a championship run, whatever it may be. A lot of stories. The OutLap was very popular last year. We look forward to doing it ahead of all of our EKN Trackside live events here in 2020. This particular episode 4 of the OutLap, it is January the 7th. It is brought to you by Acceleration Kart Racing. We do want to thank Acceleration again. I had the story, that a morning coffee that I posted today on the website. Acceleration Kart Racing have been advertisers on eKarting News since we bought the website back in 2004. And in fact, they were advertisers, I think, when it very first started in 2002. But 15 years of support from Acceleration Kart Racing. We thank them very much for that. Acceleration Kart Racing has everything you need to go racing, from tires to helmets. They have a great website for you to order from, and kart racers ready to pick up the phone and answer your questions 6 days a week. With over 20 years of kart racing under their belts, Acceleration Kart Racing has the experience to help you succeed on the track. You can rely on them to get you the parts you need when you need them. Make Acceleration Kart Racing your go-to source for everything kart racing. And the website is www.shopakr.com. All right, David, new season, bud. We are still kind of rounding out our actual EKN Trackside live schedule for where we're going to be going here in 2020. But the bottom line is 2 races to start off the 2020 season here in January. And we'll kick things off with the SKUSA Winter Series down at Homestead. Should be fun.
AMR Motorplex, presented by MG Tires, is a facility in Homestead. Mm-hmm. A very historic facility that has been part of the karting landscape since the early 2000s. A very unique track in that it appears to be a simple racetrack to drive. Would you assume that? I haven't driven it. You have?
Well, I have. And if you were to look at it, because really it's a bunch of 90-degree corners, a couple of hairpins, and a sweeper on the inside, right? That's about it. But man, what a great racetrack. Fun to drive. It's one of my favorite tracks, to be honest, that I've ever driven in my 25 years. I love that racetrack. A lot of opportunity to pass, which is great. Keeps the competition super tight, but I think it's a technical racetrack. I do.
Yeah, and the opening event for the SKUSA Winter Series is going to go in the counterclockwise direction, which is the typical direction for the 12 turns, 7/10 of a mile course that we typically see at the facility. And then next month in February, I believe they're going to do the counter or the clockwise direction, which is essentially backwards to what everybody's used to there at Homestead. The facility there, it's been a long time home for the Florida Winter Tour back in the early SKUSA years when Bill Wright was in charge of the Florida Winter Tour back then. And as you said, you've raced there. So when was that?
I did. I want to say it was 2000. So let's say 20 years ago was when I first jumped into a 125cc shifter kart. I had never driven one before. Even when I started Shifter Kart Illustrated magazine in 1998, I had never driven one. Right when I started it in October of 98, I actually went up to 3S go-karts in Ontario to Enzo Chioviti's place. They were the Burrell importer for the chassis. And I jumped behind the wheel of, I want to say, I think it was a Formula C kart it was Anthony Simoni, who is now driving. He did a lot of Pinty's racing, NASCAR racing. He's running in the Prototype Challenge. His son actually running at the Super Nationals this past year. Anthony was, of course, one of the top drivers from Ontario. I only first got to a shifter kart right when I started the magazine. And yeah, my really first time racing one was 2000 on a CTS. And Homestead was part of the series that year. It was fun.
Well, the Homestead facility took over new management in 2017 now with the Vantage Karting Group, or VKG Entertainment, which is co-owned by Justin Marks and Eric Jones. They are the same owners as the GoPro Motorplex. So there's a lot of similarities in the branding between the two facilities. And of course, one of the situations that we'll see throughout the weekend is speed bumps, something that was a major issue last year. And being the course limits, that was a talking point. I believe turn one was really a big major situation, but then ironically, when they go backwards, it was even more of an issue with drivers taking advantage of course limits, because there is no grass there whatsoever. Everything is pavement.
Yeah. So, again, we're giving you the OutLap, a little preview here of the opening round of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series for 2020, January 10th, 11th, and 12th, this coming weekend. Of course, practice on Friday with qualifying. Are we doing qualifying? I will talk about that later, but I know that's full. We'll just do the time practice on Friday afternoon, then full days of racing, of qualifying, pre-finals and finals on Saturday and Sunday. David, you mentioned the speed bumps. I think that'll be really interesting. I'd love to get some feedback, because a number of drivers were actually on the racetrack this past weekend, the track opening up for unofficial practice. Roughly 90 drivers on the racetrack. A lot of the major teams were down there. Rawson Performance Group, of course, was there. Speed Concepts, all those primary teams were down kind of testing things out, getting ready to go. But yeah, the speed bumps thing was interesting, because last year, as you said, no grass, nothing but pavement. It's a parking lot at the big track at Homestead Miami Speedway. But the bottom line is that the course is laid out. There are curbs in a lot of areas, right? The off track, they've done a beautiful job painting the off track, so you know what's the racetrack and what's not the racetrack. But unless you have some kind of a penalty and a way to police it, and we saw it with the Indy cars at Circuit of the Americas as well last March, and they worked on that with a timing line. Maybe that's something they can look at as well. But the bottom line is, David, they decided to put some speed bumps in. And I'm really interested, number one, in getting feedback from the drivers, and number two, in seeing it for myself, because speed bumps are kind of a weird thing to throw out for karting, knowing how low we run.
Well, it's something, as you said, that was well received during that practice session last weekend, talking to Xander Clements of AMR Motorplex. He told me, it's not the same type of speed bumps that we've seen at GoPro Motorplex, because if you go there, there's the S's, and then they go through the left-hander, and as they come out of there, all the karts tend to go over the bumps onto what is a flat concrete surface. And so essentially, like you said, at AMR, guys were exceeding the track limits, which, is weird, because you go over the speed, the actual curbing, to get onto a flat part that gains you a little bit. So they added the speed bumps, and there, at least where I seen at GoPro Motorplex, it unsettles the kart a lot. I mean, it doesn't do damage as much. I mean, now with pushback bumpers, it has been known to push back some bumpers. So that could be one of the biggest issues we see with drivers trying to push the limits and exceed the track limits. So, but these ones are a little bit different. So I don't think drivers are going to be able to hit these as hard as what they do at GoPro Motorplex, because we've seen guys still hit those pretty hard and be able to continue on and not lose any spots, or really not lose any time. So we'll see how they interact and how much it's actually used throughout this weekend. I think more so in February than this weekend.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going, because when you go back the other direction, really the last two corners of the racetrack it's a 90-degree right, 90-degree right. So what was happening is guys were just rolling flat out through the first 90-degree, not even coming anywhere close to the racetrack. It was just a big sweeping arc to come back on the front straightaway. Now, with those rumbles on there now, I can't wait to see what it does in terms of upsetting the kart, slowing them down. Is it enough of a deterrent for people not to do that? And number two, maybe at that point with those rumbles, it's going to be pretty easy to have a corner worker there say, starting to call some numbers out. Yeah, this guy was 4 wheels on the other side, 4 wheels on the other side. It's something that they didn't do last year. And that was the issue. Hey, listen, we have all this
the video. That was
all the video marshalling.
Yeah, that was my concern because I wasn't at the events. I haven't gone to the SKUSA Winter Series, but we have all the corner or video marshalling systems. Use it. Point a camera where the track limits are being exceeded, and start going through. Lap by lap, marking down. I mean, if you have to give a guy a 4-second penalty. Or even a 5-second penalty for exceeding the track limit every lap, then so be it. That's what you have to do in order to get these guys to stop doing it. Otherwise, you just put a wall there, and then guys are going to be complaining because they're bending. Then there's more guys that are damaging their equipment. So officials just need to step up and be like, yeah, we're gonna assess penalties, plain and simple.
Well, that's the spectrum, right, David? You said it. If you really don't want it to happen, put up a bunch of Tech Pro barriers, whatever the barriers are. Put the barriers up, nobody's going to hit them. But then you got the guy that gets shoved off, and it's not his fault, and ends up demoing a chassis. But you give a carter an inch, he's going to take a mile. So the minute you say, hey, you're allowed, you can put 2 wheels off, then it's 4 wheels, and then there's all it is arguments and battles left and right. Now, the cool thing, I thought, this is what IndyCar did, and I'm going to talk to Joe Janowski about it. At COTA, they've installed a timing line on the racetrack coming out of that it's the final complex of corners before you come onto the straightaway down in Austin. And so there's an extra timing line there that does. So if a car goes outside the timing line, essentially, exceeding track limits, they won't trip that timing line, which is an immediate penalty. That's a big thing to do over there, to have to run another line and cut, do the whole thing again. But that could be an easy way to do it. You just go back to the lap. You didn't click that particular timing line. And there's a penalty right there. But that's something they can look at. We'll see what they've done. Let's give them the benefit. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt out of the box to see if this works, right?
Yeah, I think the speed bumps will help. But yeah, again, a wall is an easier solution. Hey, don't go past the wall, because if you do, you're done.
Well, you and I have never given Joe Janowski an inch anyways, and he knows that. So
why would we? He's the Polish hammer, is he not? You'd never give a hammer an inch.
That's
never
true.
Give a hammer.
All right, let's continue on talking more about the event notes here. David, of course, brought up a bit about the track itself. 12 turns, 7/10 of a mile. We'll run counterclockwise this particular weekend, which has that big long run down the straightaway. I sent you almost a flat out, I think 90 degree. I'm not sure which categories roll that much speed through that 90 degree left-hander. Front straightaway run into the contact section. We're talking about turns 1 and 2, where the rumbles are, the speed bumps are on the outside of that corner, rolling into the double left-hander 1-2, right-hand turn 3 down into the first hairpin. Just a tremendous racetrack, and it's going to be fun. Official practice we talked about, unofficial practice rather, last weekend, January 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We had some drivers on track. We got the speed bumps. But David, really one of the cool kind of news items, the announcements that came late last year, was the fact that the Margay Ignite program would be joining Superkarts USA down in Florida. The first time in the 25-year history, I think, of the SKUSA program where there's been really an official partnership with Margay. They've called it one of their majors. Margay has their majors, which are the SKUSA Winter Tour, Quincy, Rock Island, Brickyard, those major events where they have their arrive and drive programs. But man, pretty cool to see that the Ignite program come in and essentially take over that 206 program that was lightly supported last year.
Yeah, it replaces. So they have their Ignite Senior and Master, replaces 206 Senior and Master. So it's a good even swap. Again, the only difference being that you have to have the spec Ignite engine or chassis package in order to compete in the two categories this year, where compared to last year, it was basically open chassis rules for either category. So, essentially what it boils down to is WK ousted the Margay Ignite program, which was the biggest class at their Daytona Kart Week event. Yep. And so Margay needed a place to go in the wintertime. And thankfully, they were able to work out a deal with Superkarts USA, because even though the tire brands differ, we have Hoosier tires on the Margay Ignites, and we have MG tires for the SKUSA Winter Series. The programs were still able to come together and put terms together to include one another. So Margay Ignite now has two events in the winter time. using both SKUSA Winter Series events, the January 1 this weekend and again next month in February. So allows, again, all the drivers that are part of the Margay Ignite program or want to be part of it, want to kind of take a sample of it, it's a good opportunity to do that, and provides that, a great arrive and drive program that we've kind of been following for the last 5 years now, that Margay has done with the Ignite program.
You know what, David, I think the interesting thing for me is, SKUSA came in and there was interest when they had the winter series of some, hey, let's throw a Briggs category in here. Let's get this 4-cycle program as part of the SKUSA winter series. There's lots of drivers down there. But there is a lot of opportunity for Florida 206 racers to drive, whether it's the club event, the track series at Homestead, or whether you're running over at Anderson or up at Ocala or wherever you're racing. It's interesting because, maybe a lot of those racers may say, hey, you know what? I'll just drive enough. I drive my track club series. I don't need to be part of the SKUSA deal. And I think that's why the numbers weren't massive. This is different because this really gives an opportunity for the Margay Ignite family to come south, right? There's no real reason for Florida drivers to jump in to run the SKUSA Winter Series. Yeah, there's some great officials. We have EKN Trackside live coverage, the whole deal. It's fun to be part of a big race like that. But, a lot of those racers, I think, said, you know what, I'll skip the expense of this race and I'm going to run my club race next weekend. This allows the Margay guys who are dying to go racing again because they haven't driven potentially since, the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals or the final race at Gateway or whatever it may be. Like us, David, they can get the heck out of the snow, bring their stuff down or throw the stuff in the back of I know Margay hauled a lot of equipment down there. This is their opportunity to do some winter racing. Florida guys do winter racing all the time. I really like this because this growing family of Ignite racers get a chance to get out of the snow, down to Florida. Dude, it's going to be 80 degrees down there this weekend. It's going to, for them, what a great opportunity, I think.
Well, as we've talked about many times with the Briggs package, we didn't want to see it national racing. And typically that's because there's so many different places for it to run now. As you said, Florida, there's just so many. They race 12 months out of the year. So
yeah,
adding 2 more weekends is just another, just added expense to 206 racers, which is not what it's intended to be. So and then something we'll talk about later when we kind of look at the categories is the number of states that are represented in the Margay Ignite program that are coming down to Florida, because I believe 90%, if not more, are outside of Florida. So, and that's exactly what they are catering to. They're catering to drivers from all over the North America who can fly in and do that arrive and drive program and not have to worry about anything. Know everything's taken care of at a fairly reasonable price and have a package that can win right off the trailer. Just pick your cart and drive it, essentially, is almost what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Again, as I said before, the first event of the Majors program for Margay Ignite this year of 2020. One of the cool things, David, I love it. You always hear people will say, hey, you know what, the 206 program, I've raced a shifter, or I'm a guy that races a 2-cycle, and maybe the 206 is too slow for me. How about this? How about a couple of IndyCar drivers coming out to run again because they love the sport? Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty sure that the Ignite 206 is a little slower than one of the Dallara Indy cars. But Gabby Chavez is coming down. He's actually just announced a new run for him in the IMSA series, as is Santino Ferrucci. Santino's going to run. He ran, 2 week's ago in Daytona. He's going to be on board a Margay Ignite. It's about the beauty of the sport. Both of those drivers going to be in the field for this weekend's Ignite Challenge down at Homestead.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset I'm not able to make it down there and actually race against these two guys. It would be really cool to do that because, again, that's the great thing about the Ignite program. Anybody can be competitive. And it boils down to a driver mending with a chassis. And that's the great thing about it is anybody can win. You just have to put the work in. And so it's awesome. It's fun.
So here's your event schedule on track. Wednesday and Thursday for unofficial practice. Friday is the first official practice day with 5 sessions. We'll go live on the EKN Radio Network with the call of the final practice session. We use that to make sure our system's working well. We work with the track to make sure the PA's hooking up with our recording studio down there at Homestead. Saturday, Sunday, round 1, round 2, qualifying, pre-final, final each day. That'll cap things off for the opening weekend. We'll be back in February. to do it all again. So, folks, this is episode number 4 of the EKN OutLap, our preview podcast, the first podcast of the 2020 season here on the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden. David Cole joining me. When we get back, we're going to jump in and look at some of the numbers because pretty solid pre-entries as we head into the weekend here as the SuperKarts USA program kicks off their winter series in Homestead. Stay with us. More to come after this break. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We ship daily to ensure that you get your order as quickly as possible, and we are constantly adding new products to our online store. We specialize in IAME engines, Tillet seats, ceramic product line, OTK products, Briggs & Stratton engines, and of course, our championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fit your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com.
For over a century, Briggs & Stratton has had a commitment and passion for racing. It's a DNA found in every engine we build today. So whether you kart race, Baja, race quarter midgets, or believe that dirt and snow are just God's way of adding to the challenge, the dedicated spirit of every Briggs & Stratton employee stands at the fence waiting for the green flag to drop. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you?
Every winter, young drivers take the leap up to the next class. Whether it's micro to mini, mini to junior, or the big jump from junior into the senior ranks, it's tougher competition. If your son or daughter are moving up a class in 2020, give them exactly what they need to be ready. Professional coaching from the most respected teacher in the sport. With over 30 years of karting experience, Alan Rudolph and his staff at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy specialize in training young racers and accelerating their skills so that they're ready for the next challenge. Don't just invest in equipment, invest in your driver. Bring them to the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy at Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston and invest in their skill development. Get them ready to take on that next on-track challenge, better prepared than ever. Get ready for 2020 by calling the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy at 866-607-7223. Head to speedsportsracingpark.com to learn more. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. Our first podcast of the 2020 season, episode number 4 of the EKN OutLap. And David and I essentially previewing the opening round of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series, which will take place this weekend, January 10, 11, and 12 at AMR Motorplex down in Homestead, Florida. David, some pretty solid numbers. We were in contact with the good folks over at SuperKarts USA, Tony Leone, letting us know I think the number was 229 pre-entries. And last year, the total number for the opening round was 235. Knowing the walk-up that we normally get these days and guys that don't pre-enter, because I still don't know why people don't do that. But again, I guess after Christmas, people's credit cards may be a little shaky.
Mine is.
200. Yeah. I hear you, dude. I know. I ate a lot of food this year. I had some great prime rib. I'm sure yours is too. But 2019, 235 entries, a pre-entry total already of 229. I think we'll probably top the mark from last year.
Yeah, I believe we'll. I mean, we only need 6 drivers to show up, and I think that we'll get that probably in some of the IAME categories likely.
250 wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a chance for that to happen. Again, we just got the entry list, so we haven't been able to really examine it and notice who's missing and who's not. So yeah, I think 250 is an optimal goal to reach when you're heading in with 229 as entry just wrapped up. But again, it's a solid start to the 2020 season because, again, 235 last year, almost already there with the pre-entries. It tends to lead into a preview of what's going to happen throughout the season. So I think we're still going to see some big numbers throughout the SKUSA Pro Tour in 2020.
I do too, and I think to a certain extent the numbers we're going to see here are indicative, and then to a certain extent not, because when we talk about the shifter categories, the Pro 1 and Pro 2 and the G1 and G2, there's just not a lot of guys running the engine on the East Coast, and we saw that last year, right? It took a bunch of guys coming over from California to kind of prop that up in the debut of the engine. That's what we'll talk about. But Micro Swift last year, 19 entries with Mateus Arjuela and Beckham Yassir getting race wins. I think what's Micro this year? I think 17, so very close. Mini Swift was 31 last year. I think they're at 32, so very close with Costa and Kai Sorensen getting race wins. X30 Junior, Luke Lang and Justin Arsenault were race winners, 54 last year. I think 41 in X30 Junior this year. The big places, David, we're going to see growth when we get there is the KA 100. It's definitely been a program. We know that's growing. X30 Senior, very close, 54 last year with Lorenzo Travisanuto and, of course, eventual champion Ryan Norberg getting race wins. There's 50 drivers in the category this year. Piquet and Renato David were the winners last year in X30 Master. There were 21. Master down to just 10 this year. Pro Shifter, AJ Myers was able to sweep the weekend. They had 12. David, a little lower this time here for the Pro Shifter category. I believe 7 drivers in total, 3 in the Pro 1 class and 4 in Pro 2. That's where the drop is potentially here. But I think we're going to see more guys, of course, on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the numbers, you look at KA 100, that's where our growth is essentially.
Yep.
With the senior only having 3 last year and now moving up to 15 in senior, 25 in junior, coming up from 18 last year. So that's where a lot of our growth is, along with even the Ignite category, bringing in a total of 27 to where there was only 13 total Briggs 206 racers last year. So that's where our growth is. We knew the micro and mini and X30 categories were going to be very similar to what they were last year. Actually, a drop in X30 Master, which has gone down to 10 from 21. So that's a area where SKUSA needs to look at why the drop happens. But we knew going in, the question was what's going to happen in shifter, You know, we saw the spike in numbers move up when we went to the Summer Nats, and when we went to Super Nationals, we saw a spike. It definitely was up both events. We nearly had 40 total in the combined Pro 1, Pro 2 race at the Super Nationals, and now we're down to 7 to begin the year. But I really think it's more so not the shifter guys don't need to race 12 times nationally on the year. And I think that's part of the issue that we're kind of experiencing, because the micro, the mini, and the X30 drivers, they all want to race. They want to race every weekend whenever they can. Yeah. Shifter guys, it's once a month, if that. And with the Pro Tour starting in March, it's like, okay, let's get some testing in. And testing is probably more seen more in the shifter categories than we do see with the X30 divisions, because those are more about driver development. And with shifters, It's all about learning the engine and learning the tires, as we saw in the column that Billy Musgrave just had us publish this week. So I think that's kind of where we're struggling with the numbers in the shifter category.
Well, you know, David, it's pretty easy. Whether you're talking about X30 Master or any of the Pro categories, rather the 175, whether it's the Pro 1, Pro 2, or G1 or G2, the numbers aren't there. It's pretty easy. SKUSA gets on the phone. You contact all the guys that ran to the Super Nats, and you say, why aren't you here? It's just, let's get the input from your customers, and you'll figure it out. As this class continues to grow, there's going to be more guys that come to play. Florida is a Rock Cup state. Let's just put it that way. We know that, right? They're going to have good shifter numbers for the Florida Winter Tour. It's a very rock state, so it is what it is. What I did like, as you said, essentially double the numbers in the 206 senior class. They went from 13 up to 27, and essentially double the numbers as well in the KA 100 program. They went from, as you said, 21 last year to 40 overall. Those are the primary areas of growth for the Winter Tour. Bring in Margay and the continued growth of KA 100.
It will be fun to watch in the pro shifter category. We're going to have the battle between the two SKUSA Pro Tour champions with Kyle Wick, the pro shifter champion, and last year's pro shifter 2 champion, Race Liberante, on the comp cart. So they're actually now going to be racing one another in the pro shifter category. So that'll be fun to watch as during the pro shifter race group.
Well, and here's the thing I want to find out, because Billy Musgrave isn't entered, but Chente Salas is coming to run. And he's got MRC down as his team. So let's you never know. Billy Musgrave may show up out of nowhere and decide he's going to come and race, right? You never know.
Again, that's part of why we need drivers and teams to register so we can talk about you. You know, I mean, if we don't know you're coming, we're not going to talk about you. So we're not going to talk about Billy Musgrave right now.
Woo! David Cole, ladies and gentlemen, just getting super salty here. I like that. Good for you. This is going to be Kyle Wick, Pro 1 champion, national number 1 plate, against Race Liberante, who will essentially give up his plate, his 0-1 national plate, for winning the Pro 2 category to go head-to-head. So, listen, I'll be able to talk about it. These two guys going battling back and forth. Kyle Wick jumping over with Rawlison Performance Group on the Tony kart. Liberante, I believe, will be with Harden Motorsports Group for the event, I think, on the comp kart. So, I like it. I like the battle between green and yellow. Should be fun.
Yeah, should be a good time. G1 and G2, again, only 2 drivers in each of those categories. G2 should be good with Justin Peck and Ken Schilling returning from last year, good battle in that category. Brandon Reed and Anthony Stifler in the G1 division. So a couple of Harden Motorsports Group drivers going at it in that class.
All right, David, let's jump into the Margay Ignite program. Again, the first major of the year for the Ignite drivers. 11 drivers in senior, 17 in master. I like this matchup because we talked about Gabby Chavez already, and we talked about Santino Ferrucci. Obviously, Santino jumped back behind the wheel. He's running with Chris Rock Motorsports. Was on the I believe he'll be on the Swiss Hot List for the other 2 categories. Had a really good run at Daytona. So he's right back where he was. He was obviously a champion karter before he made the move to cars. Gabby Chavez came up through the ranks. He was a champion karter, one of the top guys moving. He's a Super Nationals winner when he came back in 2013 or 12, which I think it was 12, after winning the Star Mazda Championship. Both these guys, number one, Chavez has jumped behind the wheel of the Ignite before, was able to, I think he won at Daytona a couple of years ago. He was super fast at the Battle of the Brickyard. He's going to be up front. Ferrucci's going to be up front. So we got these 2 established professional race car drivers. They're going to go head-to-head with Evan Stammer. I like that. I like that battle. I'm sure Evan is absolutely chomping at the bit to get at him. Don't you think?
Well, Stammer's raced Chavez down at Daytona last year, so he has the experience. He's beaten Chavez there, so he's got the knowledge of racing with Chavez. Ferrucci, on the other hand, he's a wild card, as we saw all in 2019 in IndyCar racing. Ferrucci's a wild card. You never know what he's going to do. And again, Ferrucci never raced karts as a senior driver. He jumped from juniors to formula cars. Never raced in seniors. So actually, his debut in a senior kart competition that we've known about was last week at Daytona Kart Week, where he raced the 100cc senior category and Rock senior category. So that's going to be the wild card is how is Ferrucci going to race? Because again, it's a Briggs, it's 10 horsepower. It's not a lot of power. So it's all about being smooth. And that's something he knows going back to his old cadet days where he was racing the Comer class, the Yamaha class. He knows how to be smooth. So it's seeing if he can get rid of that wild card, Ferrucci in the IndyCar and be back to that old Ferrucci in the cadet kart.
Okay, let me throw a couple of other names out here in the senior class. One's obviously a senior driver. A couple of guys I'm pretty sure could probably run Masters, but they'll be quick. I think that we're going to see Alexander Searle as well in the lead pack. He's a tremendous driver, done a lot of racing for MGM, super quick. So I think Searle will be right in the fight. As I look at the results sheets, I got to say, this is back in my early days when I first started in the sport. We got James Perkins and his brother Jed coming out to run it as well. A couple drivers out of St. Petersburg. But James was like a lifelong Margay driver back in the day, running 100cc. So, and they're running senior with TS Racing. I like this. I think I love seeing those guys back on the track. I haven't called a race with James in a long time. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah. Searle, I believe, raced Rock Island Grand Prix with the Margay Ignite program. So I was in there with him. So he's had experience on the Margay before. So we'll see how he's able to translate that at Homestead. And then another one from Rock Island was Kayla Carlson. She was involved in one of those red flag wrecks, actually couldn't walk. Had a back injury that prevented her from walking for about a week. So she got back into the kart probably about a month after that accident. So she's going to make her way down to Florida. And Brandon Moore, as you said, another guy who should be in the Masters class, but he's racing in the senior category. So we'll see how he's able to stack up against the young guns in the senior class.
Yeah, I raced against Brandon at the Battle of the Brickyard for sure. Now, the guys I did race against that I know are going to be super fast in the Masters category, you got to look out for Nick Todenhop. Obviously, one of a longtime Margay guy. It's kind of been his thing, and was super impressive at the Battle of the Brickyard. He's a race winner. Pistol Pete Vetter. I got a chance actually to race wheel to wheel. He and I pushed each other around for a while at the Brickyard. He's going to be strong in the Masters class. Manny Sola knows the racetrack down there. He's going to be good. Rod Scharf, I expect to be fast as well. Tim Hannon, he and I raced as well at the Battle of the Brickyard. Tim's a veteran driver, of course, from OVRP, the track owner at OVRP up in Oakland Valley. And then another one I think could be interesting to watch is Dan Breitenstein. He is running with Ricer Racing. He's a local driver in Florida, in Miami, knows that racetrack very well, and he's very, very quick. And I'm pretty sure he and I were kind of running together as well at the Brickyard race. Man, I think he's going to be in the fight for the race win for sure. Podium, most definitely, but probably a race win as well.
Yeah, I think the Masters category is definitely going to be a little bit more competitive than the senior class with all those names in there.
But, David, you know how this thing works. As long as the kart's working and you're clean and you're in that draft, if you could hold on to Chavez and Stammer and Ferrucci up front and whoever else is going to be up front in that battle, you know what I mean? As long as you're in the draft and not getting too crazy, it comes down to the final couple of laps, especially this racetrack. Like I said, it's all about momentum with the Briggs there, right? You got to keep the momentum up. You got to keep it on the clutch. And I just think that I think it could be a 10-kart battle up front. You never know.
Well, hopefully they do a staggered start and they don't mix the two, because if they do mix the two, I think we could have some of the Masters drivers racing up with the senior drivers. So hopefully they'll separate them, because we do want to see, the two categories racing with the ones that they should be racing with.
I agree with you. I agree. We'll see what happens with SKUSA on that one. David, let's jump into the next category, and we'll wrap up this particular segment of our OutLap podcast with KA100 Junior at 25 drivers and KA100 Senior at 15. Big increases, as obviously the KA100 program within the SKUSA ranks really strong. Yeah,
I thought the numbers were going to be actually a little bit higher because of what we saw in Daytona Kart Week with large numbers there. Again, could be the walk-ups, so we could get up to 50 total in these two categories. But yeah, big numbers, as we said. And I think the biggest increase was obviously KA100 Senior, because they only had 3 last year, and now they're up to 15. So that should be good. But I think the thing to watch in the KA100 Junior will be the mixture between the veteran junior drivers now, and we're talking like guys like Brent Cruz, Logan Adams, Jorge Ortiz, Josh Pearson, Mateo Rubio Luengo, Tyler Wettengel. All these drivers have experience now, at least 1 or 2 in the junior ranks. But we have a number of cadet graduates that are moving up into the junior ranks now, talking about Christian Miles, Ava Dobson, Cameron Weinberg. So it's going to be a really good mixture of drivers. And that's what that's the great thing about the K100 Junior category, is the competition is going to be a lot tighter than what we see in X30 Junior.
Hey, let's throw in that driver from Europe, David, who's scheduled to go at least here on the entry list, Kimi Antonelli for Kart Sport North America. He was definitely a challenger at the Supernats. He's entered, I believe, in both KA100 Junior and X30 Junior. He's going to be a guy up front for sure.
So a little bit of a rematch between him and Cruz, maybe, from Super Nationals, huh?
Maybe. You're right. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? I'd like to see that. What about the senior category? You look through the schedule, or the list. What's your insight on that class? KA100 Senior.
Well, I think the first thing that sticks out is obviously Ferrucci. Santino Ferrucci is going to go triple duty on the weekend. So his first class that we talked about him was in the Margay Ignite. He's going to do KA100 Senior. He nearly picked up the victory there at WKA Daytona Kart Week. had the provisional win, but a pushback bumper penalty dropped him off the top of the podium. So he should be among the top drivers heading into Homestead. Defending champion Julia Booz is going to be in the field, along with last year's runner-up Colton Ramsey, racing under the Franklin Motorsports tent aboard the Esprit in a little collaboration between Franklin Motorsports and Innovative Performance. So that they'll be in the field as well. Austin Osborne, the SKUSA Pro Tour champion, is going to be in the field. So he's making his way over to race at the SKUSA Winter Series for the first time. So he's going to be among the favorites heading into the weekend as well too.
Yeah, I like national number 1 to be strong. Osborne, of course, had a great season in 2019. I'm not going to count out Garrett Adams either with Comet Kart Sales. I think Garrett will be right in the fight there too. No,
without a doubt. Yeah. It's So there's at least a handful of podium contenders that we have there.
That's it.
It'll be fun to watch.
The juniors are going to have some graduates moving up. We've got a couple of juniors moving up to senior. That's one of the beauties about the sport. Of course, we talk it every year about you get the guys that are graduated up. So that kind of opens some room in the class below for the new guys to come to the forefront and get a chance to race for wins, but it's always those young rookies in each category. I don't care if it's micros coming to mini, minis to junior, juniors to senior. Always fun to see how the rookies will handle themselves, especially when you jump up into the senior class, where the senior drivers really aren't always super excited to have to get any kind of contact with the juniors, right, David? It's all about, listen, you're coming up to the big show now, whether it's K100 senior, X30 senior, whatever it is. If you're going to come up to the big show, you got to show a little bit of respect, I think, early.
Well, it's like high school. You have freshmen and seniors going at one another. The seniors want to keep the freshmen at bay and don't want them around.
Don't steal my spot, right?
There you
don't
go.
Take my
that's
spot.
That's my lunch seat.
That's it. All right, folks. Our final break in the action here on the EKN Radio Network, episode number 4 of the EKN OutLap, our first podcast of the 2020 season. We are glad you're tuning in. We hope you've downloaded the EKN Radio Network app off of iTunes or Google Play. You can also get EKN Radio on Spotify and through, of course, Podbean.com and the Podbean app as well. Stay with us, folks. After this break, we're going to come back. We're going to do X30 Senior, X30 Junior, X30 Master, and then we'll cap it all off with Mini and Micro Swift. With over 35 years of manufacturing experience, Precision Karting Technologies is the leader in American-made components. We produce high-quality products, led by our full line of chromoly and mild steel axles. Metric or imperial, standard or custom, we have what you need. Collars, keys, bearings, we're the source for axle components in the USA. We're not just axles either. At PKT, we can manufacture motor mounts, hubs, brake rotors, and even GoPro mounts. We're also the choice for axle and chassis straightening. We've designed a dedicated table for the sole purpose of straightening and laser aligning your chassis. If needed, we have the capability to cut, replace, and weld portions of your chassis as well. Big crash bent your frame? Send it to us. Broke a spindle yoke off in a wreck? We can replace it. You don't need to toss that expensive frame in the trash bin. We can fix it. We can repair and straighten chassis, and we CNC machine the finest karting products in the country. With over 70 dealers throughout the US and Canada, it's easy to choose PKT. Family owned and operated, proudly made in the USA. PKT. What's in your cart? "25 years of experience, 25 years of success." Greg Bell and Leading Edge Motorsports are heading into their 3rd decade in the sport with winning momentum and the best material possible. Last year's monumental victories at the Rock the Rio and SKUSA Super Nationals have proven what the sport has long known. Greg Bell is one of the finest karting tuners, and he and his drivers can get the job done. Looking for a change in equipment? Get on board with Leading Edge Motorsports. Leading Edge is North America's factory team for Formula K and Praga karts, and the new 2020 models are in stock and ready for pickup or shipping to your garage. Do you want to win like Danny Formal did with Leading Edge in Las Vegas? Call Greg Bell today at 209-369-0921 to secure your place on the team. Leading Edge Motorsports will be trackside in 2020 at the Challenge of the Americas, SKUSA Pro Tour and California Pro Kart Challenge, Rock Sonoma, and the KPX Karting Championship in NorCal. From Rock to Miami to Briggs, rely on Greg Bell and Leading Edge Motorsports to give you everything you need to step into the winner's circle. Check out leadingedgemotorsports.com to learn more. Carts, parts, engines, tires, and tools. At sharkshifter.com, what you need is just a click away. We carry the biggest names in chassis, like Tony Kart and FA, DR Kart, CRG, and VLR. We have new chassis and all the parts you need. At sharkshifter.com, we also stock top quality replacement parts from Swift Components, like axles, sprockets, and hubs. We have the inventory you need for your stock Honda as well, from cylinders, heads, and engine parts to reeds, exhaust pipes, ignition covers, radiators, air filters, and air boxes. We build our own billet aluminum components as well, including motor mounts and clutch levers. Need to add to your toolbox? We offer alignment tools, brake, battery, and exhaust tools, tire gauges, and hand tools. Stop messing around getting your seat in the right position. We have a seat mounting system that makes it easy. Check the website for monthly specials. If you need it, we can get it to you fast. We ship the same day. Sharkshifter.com, your online source for carts and parts. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden. David Cole joining me from Grand Rapids, Michigan, episode 4 of the EKN OutLap, as we preview the upcoming SuperKarts USA Winter Series opener from Homestead, Florida, January 10th, 11th, and 12th, this coming weekend. David will get this thing up on the EKN Radio Network for Wednesday and Thursday, potentially knocking it out into a podcast quickly. We want to make sure you guys are all up to date and ready to rock on the first event of the 2020 season. David, X30 Senior. There's obviously issues with the, not issues, but there's growing pains, teething pains for the shifter side. The new IAME SSC 175cc shifter now starting its second season within the SuperKarts USA platform. No issues, though, with X30 Senior. This will be the final year of the 7-year freeze on the tech specs on the engine. 50 drivers in Senior, 41 in Junior. 50 drivers in X30 Senior. I hope they let everybody run the main because the track's big enough and it'll be fun.
Oh, the track is certainly big enough, and I think if we can do it at other events, why not here? I mean,
that's it.
It really looks like a Super Nationals entry list, to be honest. It looks like all the same drivers we had there in November are going to be there in February in Florida, but one of the main issues is the junior drivers, as we talked about, with cadet drivers moving up to junior. In the KA100 category, a lot of notable junior drivers are moving up into senior and making their X30 Senior debuts here at the SKUSA Winter Series. You talk about 5 of the top 6 from last year's junior championship are moving up, including defending champion Luca Mars staying with Speed Concepts, but the race team moving to that red Speed chassis. So that's one thing to watch on the weekend. Championship runner-up Diego Conteca moving up along with Luke Lang, Justin Arsenault, and Brandon Tyner moving up to the senior ranks. So that's going to be something to watch, and a lot of big names that are going to be racing still in the senior category.
And that's it, right? These kids who obviously have had some time in X30 Junior, they've stood on top of the podium, they've won races, they've won championships. Well, now you jump into the deep end of the pool where you're racing against veterans like Ryan Norberg and Taylor Barnard and Zachary Clay-Madamello. Dude, there's just so many fantastic guys. And, you just do a quick little scan, through this. Brendan Baker, like throw out names of guys that have been top running guys for a long time. Brendan Baker, Alex Pertignoli, Riley Can coming over with Crosslink Competition, done a lot of shifter kart racing as well. We talked about Zachary Clay-Madamello already. Arias Duke Medjian coming back as well, David. He's a former SuperKarts USA X30 Junior champion. He's in the field. Hannah Greenmeyer, Jacob Gulick. I just like roll it. Hey, how about Brandon Lemke? Like this thing is stacked with talent this particular weekend. This will be fun.
It all starts at the top with Ryan Norberg coming in as a 4-time SKUSA Pro Tour champion, not to mention the SKUSA Winter Series defending champion. It all starts with him on the Rollison Performance Group Cosmic Machine. Everybody's going to be gunning for him. There's no doubt about it. I think the bullseye is probably the largest it's ever been on Ryan Norberg. He just might as well put a bullseye on his helmet, on that Bell helmet that he has. So that's going to be everybody's gauging off of him. But you have runner-up Patrick Woods-Toth, who was in the Ryan Rollison Performance Group tent last year, now with Prime Power Team. Say that 5 times fast. So he's aboard the Burrell Art chassis. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out with Norberg returning, Woods-Toth moving over to a different team. All the contenders that you just mentioned that have been in the senior ranks for the last 3 to 4 years, just unbelievable. And then you throw in the junior guys, but also international stars coming over as well too.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to just kind of rewind real quickly. This was the interesting thing, because last year the Winter Series was the debut for Ryan Norberg with Rollison Performance. He had done the year before, with PSL karting. They separated. Mike Rollison said, "I need a number one guy. I want this guy to lead my team, to be kind of my lead coach, working along with guys he already has, like Luke Selican." They're focused big time on building their junior program, and to be able to have Ryan Norberg under the tent as just that access that these young junior drivers can have, I think is huge. This was, David, kind of the breakout. This was the opportunity for Ryan to come in and say, "Hey, listen, this is what I plan to do with this new team this year. We're going to rise to the occasion." Travis Anuto, the world champion, Lorenzo Travis Anuto, came over with Kart Sport on the Kart Republic, wins the first race of the weekend, and then Ryan won the next 3 races in the series to win the championship. Then would go on, of course, to win his 4th SKUSA Pro Tour championship. And I like the fact Ryan's coming back now, having proven to the world, proven to the country that it's not a fluke what he's done. 4 in a row, 3 different chassis brands. But just amazing what he's been able to do. And now he comes back as a champion with that number 1 plate again, back to the Winter Tour, where he really debuted for Rollison. I think that's kind of a cool thing. He's got that full year experience with Mike Rollison and the crew under his belt. For all intents and purposes, he could be even better than he was last year.
Well, it's a one for the thumb, kind of like what we saw in professional motorsport or professional sports. Getting that 5th title, having a handful of championship rings necessarily, even though we don't give them out in SKUSA Pro Tour, but just to have 5, not only 5, but 5 in a row. I mean, that alone is it's something unheard of in the sport, in its history of the sport.
Yeah, David, you mentioned a couple of international stars. We'll jump into that right now. Taylor Barnhart coming in, as you said. Zachary Clayman DeMello, the Super Nationals winner from Canada, a former IndyCar driver who continues to try to find the backing to get back to the top of that level. Another a really cool story, Solo Kart USA, Adam Pettit and Salvatore Sparacio, their program, Solo Kart USA. They're actually bringing over a former British X30 junior champion. Louis Westover is going to be running for them here in 2020, talking to Adam a little bit and looking at potentially a SKUSA Pro Tour run, but also potentially USPKS, maybe the F Series as well. But Louis Westover, 5th in the 2018 Miami International Final in X30 Senior. He moved to the X30 Pro class they had last year and had some really good runs in the heat races, ended up finishing 9th overall. The solo kart we've seen very strong with both Adam and Salvatore in X30 Masters racing. They've won championships in the F Series. Louis Westover could be a really interesting story depending on how he comes out of the box here at Homestead. He's got to get the time on the racetrack, but here's a guy that's coming in with a pedigree of a British champion, and it's one of the stories I'll be following throughout the weekend.
Well, and again, like we began the podcast with, the track seems simple enough, Bo. So it's how quickly he can adapt to the nuances of the 90-degree corners, because each one's a little bit different. It's not the same 90-degree corner, corner by corner. They're all a little bit different from one another. So it's how quickly he can adapt to that. And again, it's just, the field is obviously stacked. We talked about Ferrucci going triple duty, so he's going to be a factor. All those drivers we've already talked about. So you got anywhere between 20 to 25 drivers that have the opportunity to be at the top of the podium.
Yeah, you throw Mateus Morgado, Sebastian Montoya. There's just so many guys. We just don't know what the top 10 is going to look like. We can predict some of the names we're going to see there for sure, but you never know what's going to happen in that next 10. It's going to be really exciting. David, you mentioned a lot about guys that have graduated from junior. Luca Mars, Diego Canteca, Luke Lang, Justin Arsenault, Brandon Tyner. It's going to open the door a little bit, isn't it, for the drivers in X30 Junior? There's that second tier of drivers. It's their turn to shine. It's their final year or second couple years in X30 Junior. We're going to see some new names up front.
Yeah, not necessarily new, but maybe just different names promoting or getting themselves up front, at least at the SKUSA Winter Series. There's a lot of names that we saw towards the end of the 2019 season that are going to be factors in the championship, if not every win or every fight for podium throughout the SKUSA Winter Series. You're talking about John Burke from Texas, Josh Pearson from the West Coast, Brent Cruz, Nikita Johnson from right there in Florida, Jeremy Fletcher, another Florida driver, Mateo Rubio Luengo, another Florida driver. These are all names we know that we've seen up front, and these are all names we probably expect to see battling up front as the weekend goes on. So these are all names that have the opportunity to put themselves up early at the start of the year and get themselves that momentum to start the summer season.
Yeah, some of the other names I think that we'll probably see as well. You'll obviously get a chance to talk about some of the graduates coming up from the cadet ranks. But as I scroll down again, you look at a Noah Baker and a Paul Bocuse and some of these guys I'm used to talking about. Right, I'm used to talking about them in the top 5, top 10. But then you throw in Anderson Leonard and Jack Jeffers and Logan Toke and Costello and on and on of drivers coming up from cadet, again having to kind of step up, right?
Yeah, it's going to be how quickly they can adjust to the full size carts, the more power.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of these kids have already tested. I know Toke has been doing KA 100 Junior on the West Coast, so now he's making that jump up to X30 Junior. So we'll see how he's able to adapt to that. So it's all how quickly can you adapt to the change? And it's a big change that we typically see from cadet to juniors. Some drivers get it right away. Some drivers need a full year to get under their belts before they're able to fight in the top 10 or even for a podium position.
Yeah, and again, Kimi Antonelli, the Italian driver running for Rosberg Racing over in Europe, had a pretty good run in his debut here at the Super Nationals. He's back in the field as well. He's doing double duty, and I have to believe he'll battle for race wins in both categories as well, if the Super Nationals were any indication.
Without a doubt, he along with Taylor Bernard in the senior category, those are the two factory Kart Republic drivers coming over to kind of to work with the Kart Sport North America team and the drivers under that tent to get the year started right for the Kart Republic brand.
All right, David, we talked a little bit about the fact that there's a drop in the X30 Masters field, just 10 drivers in the category, but we got some pretty good names. You got a defending champion. You got former Supercar USA winner Renato Jader Davidi, won 3 of the 4 races last year. You throw in the solo kart guys in Pettit and Sparacillo, as I said, who are very happy with the way they've dialed in their solo kart. It's ready to rock. And then you got the Texas Pro Kart Challenge champion for crosslink competition, Miguel Mir, as well. 10 drivers, but a good field in the X30 Masters class.
Yeah, good field. And again, this could be one of those categories where we see some walk-up entries come in. Again, we're just coming off Christmas break. A lot of fathers might not have the credit cards ready to go yet. So, you never know. So we'll see. But again, I expect Renato Jader Davidi to be the top contender coming off last year's fabulous season, not only at the SKUSA Winter Series, but all throughout 2019.
Indeed. Both the Carapolettis, Kim and Scott Carapoletti, coming down from New York as well. And if they dial things in, we've seen them being able to run in the front of the pack as well in that front lead group. So both the Carapolettis, veteran drivers, coming down in as well. 32 racers in Mini Swift, David, and the kind of guy that we really watched last year throughout the season really step up, end up winning the championship, end up winning the Supernats. Kai Sorensen, not in the Mini Swift category this particular year. He's moving on to X30 Junior, but he's not an X30 Junior as well. Here at the Winter Series, we got to do some more to get some real facts of what's going on. But we're being told that Kai is going to be running in Europe this year, potentially with the Tony Kart Factory. We'll get more information. We're hearing some cool names being bandied out about sponsorship or support for Kai, but essentially he'll be running in Europe this year. So no Kai Sorensen in the Mini Swift battle for the first time in 3 years, right?
Yeah, first time in 3 years. But I just thought it was kind of interesting that he wasn't starting out the year down in Florida, because there's nothing going on right now in Europe as far as racing. It's just a lot of testing whenever the snow is not covering the racetracks there in Italy. Yeah. So I was really shocked to see him not racing this year in Florida. But he could be one of those walk-up entries we don't know about.
Oh, let's not do that. But he'd be in junior anyways, right?
I know, but I still, the defending SKUSA Pro Tour champion, defending SKUSA Winter Series champion. So we just had to make note that he's not in the field this year. So that's
no more Kai Sorensen.
Yep.
No more Kai and Mini Swift. That opens the door, though, David, for a bunch of drivers to kind of step to the forefront. Who do you think we're going to see running at the lead of the pack?
Well, if I recall, last year it was a pretty good battle throughout the SKUSA Winter Series. I think we had 4 different winners last year. 3 different winners. So Kai won twice. You had Christian Miles winning one. He's moved up to the junior ranks, and then Miguel Costa was the inaugural winner. I believe that had a little bit of controversy with some penalties and moved up Miguel to the top of the podium. So you got to start with Miguel. He's coming back. I believe this is his 3rd year in Mini, maybe 2nd year. Probably 3rd year if I'm correct. So he's going to be among the contenders. Caleb Graffar going to be among the contenders, now making his 2nd year in the mini category. Parker DeLong had a strong Daytona WK Kart Week. Won provisional all 3 races, but had one taken away for a pushback bumper penalty. So came out of there with 2 trophies and went on his trophy mantle. He actually moved over from Nitro Kart to the Syntec operation out of Indianapolis. So he ran aboard a Tony Kart that weekend. So we're expecting the same this coming weekend as well. Max Garcia, 2018 SKUSA Pro Tour champion. He's going to be making his 2nd year
in micro.
He's
in the micro class.
He's going to be making
his home track.
His 2nd year now in the mini ranks. Austin Jers of the Merlin Nation, Cooper Shipman from representing Texas. So there's a lot of good drivers that'll be up there fighting for the victory.
Yeah, you throw the names out. I think you obviously Costa was strong last year. Caleb Gaffera, of course, coming out his first year in the Mini Swift class last year and was like running right up front, battling with Kai Sorensen. So he likes this racetrack. Now, of course, with the PSL karting crew, and I would expect to see Caleb be strong. Parker, as you said, Parker DeLong coming off his Daytona success. Garcia knows this racetrack really well. He's going to be very good. And Jers and Shipman. Throw in Sebastian Weldon as well. Great to have that 2nd-generation driver with us. Sebastian going to be running the Winter Series as well. 32 drivers in Mini Swift. David, let's cap things off. Have a look at Micro Swift. 17 drivers in the youngest category in the SuperKarts USA program.
Yeah, it's a good number to start the year. Just down only 2, because again, the micro category is always jostling with numbers because you have kids that are staying, kids that are moving up. Some kids, you don't quite get the kid cart moved up yet. So yeah, it's a good number. It was 17. You have defending SKUSA Pro Tour champion Jack Iliff in the field. So he's going to be one of the drivers everybody's going to keeping an eye on throughout the weekend. I don't believe he raced last year in the series. I'm trying to double check here. Jack Iliff, finished 7th in the championship. So didn't exactly start the year off, had 1 podium in those 4 rounds of racing down there in Homestead. So we'll see if he's able to carry that momentum from Pro Tour and take it into a SKUSA Winter Series championship.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very strong. And again, just the fact that he's got some track time, I think will be good. Carson Weinberg running as well. I think Carson's going to be strong. I look forward to seeing James Moss as well. Moss is one of those drivers out of the Texas program running with Iron Rock Motorsports. He ran in the Texas Pro Kart Challenge last year in micro and was battling for the race wins, I think, week in and week out. Kai Johnson, I expect him to be very quick as well. This is one of those deals, as you said, David. We always new young drivers coming in, and it's such a quick and steep learning curve for the drivers here. There's always that that big separation between the rookie kid in micro and the guy who has maybe 1 or 2 years already in the class, and he's just got that much more speed. So we always see bigger separation in micro, but the racing up front of the guys that do have guys and girls that have that experience is always so good. Oftentimes the Micro Swift is the cleanest and best racing we see all weekend long.
It is. They drive a little bit with more respect than a lot of the other categories do. Yep. Because they don't like to piss each other off. Then you can't play football afterwards with them if they have the football. So
yeah, listen, I didn't want to take him off the track because Dad, he's the guy. He's the only guy here with the football.
Yeah,
and he won't pass it to me if I wreck him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I think Kai Johnson. Yeah, you mentioned him. He won at the Rock the Rio. So he's definitely got momentum going into the 2020 season. So again, as you said, there'll be some names that'll be at the front, and there'll just be some drivers that are there getting some seat time, learning, trying to make that progression of getting quicker and quicker as the weekend goes on.
I'll throw this one out here because I love it because it just connects my entire racing career.
How old you are?
We talk about no, a little bit of that. Easy now. We talk a little bit about second generation drivers, right? I like this third generation driver too, and Isaac Malkit. I don't know how much you remember, David, I've talked about it before, but how much you remember about stock car racing. But Isaac's dad, Marcus, and then his dad, Mark Malkit, was a top ASA driver for a time, engine builder, car builder, just a fantastic super late model driver on the oval tracks. Marcus, of course, now has his son racing as well. Marcus is a late model racer, but he's got his son Isaac running. He's coming down to the Winter Series. That's third generation. I love that. Coming from the stock car ranks. Makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm not that old to where I know 3 generations, so.
You don't know Mark Malkit. Come on.
Actually, I don't know. I heard you say ASA, so it sparked my interest, but I do not know the name. I'm sure if I went back into the memory banks and looked at everything, it might spark some memory.
Oh yeah, he was a badass for sure. Mark was fun to watch. Came up to Canada, ran in Ontario quite a bit with Junior Hanley and on his chassis, and it was good stuff. Now, Dave, let's just wrap.
Well, that's the connection. Now I understand because of Junior Hanley there's the connection.
He'll take care of it for you. He raced against Butch Miller and Dick Trickle and Mike Eddy and Bob Seneker. Harold
Fair. Those are the 5 names I remember.
That's right. Yeah, and he ran against them all and beat them all. He was good. Let's wrap things up, David.
Not at Berlin.
Who was the big badass at Berlin?
Butch and Seneker.
And Seneker. There you
and
go.
Trickle. Yeah.
There you go. Do you know what Bob Seneker's brother's name is?
I know the son's Terry.
Terry's his brother.
No, there's a Terry.
Well, there's a Terry Jr. Probably a Terry Jr. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Terry ran number 37, like me. There you go. All right, folks, we're going to wrap things up here on the EKN OutLap. David and I going through a preview of the upcoming opening round of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series in Homestead this coming weekend. I look forward to getting out of this cold and sloppy, crappy weather up here in Cambridge, heading south to Homestead. I always love going to this racetrack. It's always been one of my favorites, as I had said earlier. Follow us live because we'll have our first EKN Trackside live event of the weekend. www.ekartingnews.com/live on your mobile phone or on the website, whatever it may be, to get the live play-by-play throughout the weekend. Alicia Hodap will be down there with me. She'll be running the broadcast and handling a lot of our social media as well. David, as always, make sure to follow our social media platforms, right? Because we will be cranking content out on Facebook, Twitter, a ton of it on Instagram as well. And make sure, stay in the loop, everybody, with your hashtag at SKUSA Winter Series or at EKN at SKUSA. Right?
Yep, those are the 2 hashtags to follow. Make sure you follow those so that way you can keep up to date on Twitter, Facebook, and again, as you said, on Instagram. I'll be at home watching all the coverage because I won't be there. It'll be one of those weird weekends where I'm not at the racetrack, but everybody else is.
3 weeks, David. 3 weeks. You're back on the road, right? 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Essentially 3.
I think my family's getting sick of me right now, so it'll be good.
No doubt. I'm sure they can't wait to pack your suitcase and kick you out the front door.
Well,
you and I are going to we're going to Tucson.
Yeah, we are. We're going to go to Tucson, different hotel, so that'll be a unique experience for us. But probably all the same the food stops that we make throughout our Tucson weekend. We're going to have Mexican on Friday, probably some Italian place on Saturday, and then a good steak on Sunday.
What are we having for lunch on Friday?
Ooh, what trucks are we getting? That'll be interesting.
Well, I was thinking more about the fact that you're going to want to get in and out as soon as you get there.
Well, because I don't get there till Thursday late, so maybe we'll do it a late Thursday night run. Because
I can do that.
You can't say no to in and out at 10 p.m. Or can you?
No, you cannot, my friend. No, you cannot. Well, folks, this is it. We are started our first podcast of the 2020 season. Thank you so much for tuning in here to the EKN Radio Network. This has been the OutLap. We're ready to go. SuperKarts USA Winter Series kicking things off this weekend in Homestead. We hope you tune in to the EKN Trackside Live program. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.